Hi everyone, welcome to Casual Watch Talk Sunday Social. A big welcome on a Sunday. We've got a panel for plenty of discussion about news, but then we are going to keep a lot of time for a Q&A. So please keep your questions coming. We've had a lot going on the last couple of weeks. We had Mark at Long Island Watches on. We had TGV on. So if you've got any questions about the last couple of live streams or any watches that you're interested in or anything to ask the experts, then let us know. But before we do that, let's do a wristwatch check. Mark, are you ready?
As ready as I will ever be, I guess. So I am wearing a Citizen ProMaster Turks and Caicos edition. Bought it in the Turks and Caicos a couple of years ago, so it's got the Caribbean islands in loom on the dial. Really kind of nice.
Nice.
I've never seen anything like that before.
And of course, because I bought it in the Turks and Caicos, it wasn't quite free, but it certainly was nowhere near. and if I could find it, I think the real reason I bought it is it comes with the scuba diving packaging.
Okay.
So it's a little plastic scuba tank.
Yeah. That's the problem if I went through a phase of getting a lot of Citizens, and when you've got a couple of them in the shelf.
Yeah, they're a pain to dust. So
yeah, absolutely. Thomas, what are you wearing?
I'm wearing a Ralph Tech. This is a Ralph Tech WRX Black Operator. It's a French brand which supply the special forces in France and Portugal and a few military police and special police branches. It's an electric micro hybrid movement, which is basically a quartz movement, which is powered by a rotor. So it's you can see it's ticking along like a quartz watch. So it's 47.5 mil. So it's a big brute.
The French military seems to get a lot of these luxury watches, don't they, with the Tudor and the Ralph Tech now?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I guess.
Todd, what are you wearing?
Oh, so I'm going to do two again. This is my habit here. First off, what's really the most important is that yesterday was International Pogue Day.
Oh.
That's when William Pogue brought his watch aboard Skylab 3. And so I have an actual 6139 6005 with the resist dial from 1971 from September, which is the same month and year as the Colonel's watch.
Wow.
So we know the number because it was sold at auction. So a little bit better. We'll go up a little. Let's see if I'll focus in on this. Probably won't. Not quite.
That's in great condition, Todd. That's in lovely condition, isn't it?
Thank you. Yeah, this was another. This is a John restoration here in the U.S. And there's only one playing on the dial, right. Oh, I'm gonna go on the other side. I gotta think backwards here. Right here, there's like a small discoloration, but you can barely see it. But yeah, this one's in superb condition. It's been restored. Extra jewels on the arbor ports, so it winds beautifully, that sort of thing.
The bracelet's in lovely condition. The bracelet's on lovely condition as well.
Yeah, it's in really good shape. The other one that I have, so you can see my IG, by the way. I have a little shrine to Pogue. It's right behind me, right there on my shelf. But this one came in at the same time, so I got a super deal from Dean Bump at Little Switzerland. Is the new Tag Heuer Octavia flyback.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
I really like that
with their in-house movement, which might actually focus. But yeah, there was a deal I couldn't resist on this one, and so I think he still has some tags and some JLCs that are reduced in price, which doesn't happen anymore, but they're right in between the calendar year stocks switch over. So they've got some incentives from the manufacturers to to sell them, so they don't have to send them back.
But you have to
Massively.
go to the Caribbean to buy them.
No, they'll ship, and so you can go online and you can call up Little Switzerland, and they'll send you pictures. If you like it, they'll ship it to you.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah,
Cool.
so it works out
And
really
that's
well.
the one in where is it? In St.
It's in
Bart's?
St. Thomas. That there's
Thomas.
Little Switzerland has I think 8 stores in the Caribbean, in different places. But Dean Bump, my friend and AD pusher, who finds me these things, is in the St. Thomas store.
Yeah, I've been to the Nassau
Mhm.
Bahamas one.
Yep.
Is it pusher or wallet draining enabler?
That's a good point.
Money
Let me
vampire.
see.
Money vampire, I like that one. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh, hey, the moths are escaping. Okay, and then I'll go. So I'm wearing the Casio Royale, the world timer. I've just finished doing a little review on it. I was going to do a top 10 watches under $50, or doing a Morgan, as I like to call it, the top 10 list. And then I realized that actually this is the best watch under this was $30 on Amazon. It's
Really?
A great watch.
really what you can get for $30. I mean, I shouldn't really say this is a spoiler alert, but one of the negatives is because I've got very hairy arms. I'm not one of those YouTubers that has migrated to shaving his arms yet for the art. But yeah, this is a bit of a hair puller. Also, that original Pogue bracelet's a bit of a hair puller, isn't it? A bit of a wax strip.
Maybe we should ask Bill
the...
Kay a question. Why don't Casios count as the best watches under $100? Come on, Bill, spill the beans.
Yeah. Oh, also, actually, I know we want questions coming from you guys, but does anybody know why they call this the Royale? I don't know. I couldn't say it in the review. I don't know why people call this the Royale.
No. I've never seen one on a bracelet. I've never seen one on a bracelet. It looks really nice, the bracelet. Actually.
Yeah, it's like $27 or something.
Wow.
Can't go wrong, can you, really?
You can't.
amazing.
No, you can't.
There you go. Awesome. Okay, well, let's talk about, while we're waiting, it says he's quoting BSB. Who's BSB?
Good Buddha. It's a friend I used to stream with.
Oh, right. Okay.
So,
Yeah, James Bond did have a Seiko, kind of like it. You're right. I forgot which digital one it was.
Oh, this one. It was a Seiko, wasn't it?
Nice one, Barasic time.
Burger King Chicken Royale.
Yeah, let's bring a little Pulp Fiction in here. I like it.
Yeah. All up for the Pulp Fiction. But why was it named after that? Like, you're not giving Brassic Time. You're usually very good with the information and the questions, but you've just given us a taster of the Royale there. Anyway, let's do some news so that we've got something to put in the thumbnail. I was looking at Hodinky to see if there was any news, and there wasn't really, except for Universal Genève have got they've done these are like concept watches, the pole routers. Yeah, so they've actually got some concepts now. They're not actually for sale, which I thought was interesting. But I wanted to talk about this channel, this watch, that watch, which is, we were joking that he's kind of taken a bit of Pete McConville's ideas, hasn't he? His approach to YouTube, and done them very consistently, good quality as well. And he's been doing some really interesting stuff, and the views and the subs have definitely followed. But this one I thought was quite interesting was he took some mid-range brands, I think he was calling them. He says that the most exciting area of the brand segment is the sub 2000, I think it was, and he was saying that actually there's a lot going on there, but that some of these brands might not be round in 5 to 10 years. So I'll throw it to the panel. Does everyone watch this one?
Yep.
Yeah. He covered Christopher Ward, Anno Dane, Studio Underdog, San Martin,
Formex.
Formex and
Formex.
Seiko right at the end. Yeah,
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 Grand
it's
Seiko.
really
And
interesting.
yeah, I'm interested. We'll definitely talk about the unordained bit, but Lucy, who works for the parent company, hopefully we won't. Hopefully that we won't upset her with what he said about unordained. He didn't say anything negative, actually, to be honest. But that was one of the ones that, along with San Martin, was the one that he said wouldn't be around in 10 years, or certainly in their current
Yeah,
state. But well, let's start with what he said about Christopher Ward. So he had quite an interesting approach to Christopher Ward. He said that he pointed out that this year was the first year that they were profitable,
Wrong.
or that they'd made a significant profit, which I
More,
think,
more correct.
yeah, so that was at like 20%, wasn't it, Mark? I mean, company profits are always, they sort of move the money around a little bit, don't they? So, you still, they've done some heavy investment, haven't they, Christopher Ward?
I
So
mean,
that
it's true that 2023 was the most profitable year, and for a lot of their first 10 years, they weren't. But yeah, so
yeah.
their profitability has been interesting. They took on the investment in 2014, 2015, I think. No, this must be more recent than that. But so they did at one point have to take on investment, and that's what kickstarted their growth 7-8 years ago.
Yeah, actually, so he made some interesting points. He said that basically a lot of that growth was due to models that were newer. So the 12X titanium, the Bel Canto
yeah.
as well, not
He
actually
said
their bread and butter.
he said that the things like the Trident and the Sealander weren't. It didn't get kickstarted until the Bel Canto and the 12 sort of kicked off. The Bel Canto had been the big one, I think, and
Well, the Bel Canto was was a catalyst for sure.
yeah. I think I agree with him there.
With their pricing model, you clearly earn a lot more money if you're selling a £3,500 watch compared to a £1,000 watch.
Sure.
And the Bel Canto also forced them to totally revise their supply chain.
So do you think that was kind of not a happy accident, but was what would you call that? Do you think they expected? I don't think they expected the Bel Canto to be like as big as it was. And do you think that's really catapulted them? Hence the reason that they would be profitable eventually, but maybe this accelerated it.
That certainly was, it forced them to essentially totally revise their supply chain. It gave them justification for the growth that they sorely needed anyway, that they'd kind of been sitting on, because I don't think the investment justified the cost. Mike had a good point, is that they need to start telling their story better. Yeah. And that's a lot of what the conversations that we've had about selling luxury and not value. And they're, because selling value, as our very own Sith Lord Pete McConville says, sort of, you can't just sell value, but it is in their DNA. They've got to get better at telling the story, better at selling luxury rather than value, and it's in their DNA. Sort of, if you scratch Mike France, the word value comes out.
Yeah, he had some very interesting.
Yeah, he had some good points.
Yeah, I had to smile about. He made a comment about the logo as well. And for anybody that does Christopher Ward content on YouTube, he made the comment about it that everybody makes a comment about the logo. Like they don't the new logo. They don't like the new logo. Oh, they do. They do.
Oh,
they
okay.
say it. They do say it. Well, certainly in my comment section. Like, oh, they don't like the full name. They do like the full name. I had a comment on my last one where it was like, I wish they'd bring the name back on the dial. And I'm like, this is the first time after years of being told in the comment section of these reviews that nobody likes the name on the dial. You're the first person to say, I think I
make everyone happy.
Yeah, so that was funny. But do you think he's right when he said, I'll throw this to the panel, when he said that nobody wants a Christopher Ward because it's a Christopher Ward. They're very model specific. Like they don't build a brand loyalty beyond. If you like the Bel Canto, you're going to buy the Bel Canto.
Mhm.
I thought that was an interesting. I don't know whether he fully fleshed the point out, but it was.
Given that Trident is still their best-selling model, that's the core of their range. It's been the core of their range for 10, 12 years now. But can they be, unless they can move the average price point of Trident up to £3,000, which would be a stretch, although they're trying with the Lumiere, they're moving that up. Bel Canto got them wider recognition, wider respect. It got them GPHG, which it's hard to milk these days because GPHG seems to be getting less important. But it's, their core models, which, tend to be Sealander and especially Trident, they're there all the time.
Do you know, actually mention something interesting there. Did I hadn't really looked into GPHG because I don't know, it just didn't really excite me this year, but they submitted one but didn't win the category. Is that right, Mark? Did they submit one?
That's correct. They submitted the Aventurine Dial Moon Phase. I forget what they call it.
The Moon Glow.
No, not the Moon Glow. Because the Moon Glow has
phase. It's confusing, Thomas, isn't it? Because they got a couple. I'm actually reviewing. I'm actually going to review one and speak to them about this, but I don't know. I guess they thought they might win it, that they at least had a decent chance at it.
But one thing, Mike. Sorry, Todd. Carry on.
No worries. You go, sir.
I was just going to say that one thing Mike said was that they do have a fan base, but will the hype die off? Do you think? Will the hype die off, and will there still be a fan base in the future of Christopher Ward, or is it growing?
Yeah, I mean, Orange Hand actually clarified the point that I was trying to make. He said, I think he meant no one looks to buy a CW for the sake of buying a Christopher Ward, like someone buying an Omega or Rolex or a Seiko. Yeah, that is what he said. Yeah, that is right. That's what he said. Yeah, and that's kind of. I thought I'd said it that way, but obviously I hadn't. Thanks, Orange. Yeah, Orange Hand.
Well, people like to buy bigger brand names, don't they? I mean, so
yeah. Well, then he moved on to. Sorry, so go on.
Well, I was just going to say. So first off, Von Cruel's being cruel in terms of the original Bel Canto dial. So, but I agree with him.
It's absolutely true.
The Rose Engine Guilloche dial is fantastic. When I saw those come out, my eyes just popped. And of course, I have one that they released the second round. And now looking at that Guilloche dial, I'm like, oh. That's just lovely. It's just stunning. And to get that much work for the price is really, really, really amazing. But the other thing is, to your point, and I'm interested in Mark's take on this too, is that I was looking at a business analysis of the electric vehicle industry some time ago. This was back when Tesla was pretty new, I guess only a few years going. And, they generated a lot of press. There was a lot of, I guess emotion around, look what they're doing. They're doing all these great things. And some analysts made a good point. They said, people don't want to buy electric cars. They want a Tesla. And I kind of got where he was coming from. It's like, they don't want what GM's putting out necessarily. They don't want what, name the
Nissan
vehicle
Leaf
manufacturer. They want a Tesla. They want that car. They want that uniqueness. They want that, I guess, status at the time, especially. I think that's gone, now somewhat because they're more ubiquitous. But yeah, I mean, is there a little bit of that with Christopher Ward? To your point, is it I want a Bel Canto, or I want a, the Moon Phase because of what it is, or do I buy a CW because it's a CW at some point, or is that going to come, or is that there? I don't know.
I think there's some truth to that, and part of what Mike said that I absolutely agreed with is they've got to get better at telling their story once the Bel Canto effect dies down. That's absolutely true.
Yeah. Then he moved on to, he made some interesting points about Formex. I thought that he was saying that Formex have everything going for them in terms of they're obviously linked to that, larger company, Dexel, was it? That makes, they've, got high quality components. The dials are good. The bracelet finishing is excellent. But he said that they're perhaps too industrial looking, or, I mean, he said brutal looking,
Brutalist, like a brutalist design. Yeah.
Yeah, and he said that he thinks that they'll struggle perhaps in years to come because of that. Don't know what everyone else thinks. Like, you've got a Formex, haven't you?
I've got a Formex. I have the Essence Legera, the carbon fiber bodied one. They are nice watches. They are sitting in the Gang of Four in Beale. They have, it's a shame Dave isn't here, and I'm not sure he'd comment. Like a lot of Swiss watch brands, their financial backgrounds are obscure, but I think Formex make great watches. Their designs aren't perfect. I think they're very much now, or possibly 10 years ago, in many of their design respects. They need to work more on their design. Do what Christopher Ward did. Find a design team that can move you forward.
Yeah, interesting. Then,
but I don't think they're going broke anytime soon.
Yeah. I think he mentioned, he said something about Anne Ordain. So Anne Ordain's definitely been quite a darling of the micro brand scene, but his comments were more around the not that the company can't exist, but the fact that the dials are so highly, this enameling on the dial is quite,
the failure rate on the dials, and the time which the production time of how long it takes may not be sustainable at that price point. Yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, and the length of time. He was saying that basically it's hard to like 10x the production of enamel dials because it takes skilled artists to do it, but there's obviously it's such a niche talent. So I don't know what does everybody. And he said that they're basically the wait lists are that they're in several years, aren't they, at the moment for one of these?
Yeah, watches. I mean, I'm on the wait. I'm on the wait list for Anne Ordain, and my build window is 2028. And it just goes to show you. I mean, I got on the wait list last year. This year.
I guess that would be the forward-looking indicator. If their build list goes down to 6 months, they're in trouble.
Yeah.
But it will be hard for them to grow, and if we follow the business sense that you must grow, if you don't grow, you die. If they can't grow that production, then they will be restricted in size to the company they are now. But do they care?
Yeah. We've got a comment here. So Jared says, how does Sam digest information and then explain it so wrong and inaccurately? I think it's a gift. I think it's a gift. It's a talent. Is it a talent or a gift?
Yeah, you can be a politician. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Oh, yeah, could do. That's taking information, understanding it, but then purposely communicating it inaccurately. I'm not doing it with malice.
He says he's kidding, of course.
Yeah, he just says he's kidding. But that is right. I think I just made the point ineffectively. That Orange Hand kind of clarified it for me. Thanks, Orange Hand, for having me back there. So one of the other things as well, which I thought was really interesting, was he mentioned San Martin. Now, I will not review a San Martin on the channel. Like they are a copy brand. Like I'm not having it. Like maybe they have one or two watches they do themselves, but they are a copy brand, and that's my my line in the sand. But he mentioned that obviously they're very popular in the enthusiast sphere because they are known for being high quality. He says homages, but I say copy. But he made some interesting points about it. He said that actually, even though they're a Chinese brand, he doesn't think that Chinese people would necessarily buy them because they actually do want the real thing. It's more Western enthusiasts that want copies of things with a different name on them. Mark, you're shaking your head there.
As little as I know about the Chinese watch market, I do have colleagues in China.
Oh yeah.
And not everyone can afford a high-class watch. Remember, sort of these guys make millions of watches a year. The big Chinese factories making millions of watches a year.
Sure.
And then you're not seeing millions of these watches in the West. So they are selling somewhere, whether that is India, Thailand, Indonesia. If they're selling throughout Asia, they have economies of scale. They have the ability to make everything. Mainsprings, rubies.
Yeah.
The Chinese watch industry, yes, it's a bit of a black hole, but I think that was a very Western-centric view. Whether San Martin are a go-to brand, whether they have the prestige in China that a Rolex or an Omega or a Patek Philippe or whatever, no, but they have an audience that we see nothing of.
Yeah.
I don't, and at least San Martin at their price point are trying to be original. Their original designs may not be to a Western taste, but at least they're trying now. They've learned that they can be original.
Yeah, he's actually said that. He made an interesting point, saying, "I'll ask it to the panel." He said that even if San Martin could make a watch the same exact quality of a Rolex, people would still buy the Rolex.
Oh, sure.
Sure.
Yeah, sure,
You want a
sure.
Tesla.
Yeah.
You want a
Yeah.
Rolex.
The brand doesn't have that cachet.
Yeah.
And I would argue that. I mean, I even if they had a very original design that was supposed to be reviewed, I personally would still look on them negatively just because of all the copies that they've done.
Well, I think
But you could say the same. So you could say the same about the history of Christopher Ward. They were regarded as a homage brand.
Yeah, but they
To a
didn't.
point.
But you couldn't swap a logo out on a Christopher Ward
No,
and make it look like a Rolex, which is San Martin.
That's true.
I mean, their Tudor fromage is like it's pretty close. They're So, but anyway, that's.
I think it's referring a lot to the the high spending thrift days of a couple of years ago for China. And when he was referring to the Rolex buying days, and Mark's right, I think that a lot of Chinese people are buying budget brands now. And he referred to Atelier Wen as another brand, and was saying that it's cheaper to make mass production watches than it is to make small production watches, such as Atelier Wen. It's more expensive to make a smaller production watch, and it can be on the same scale as that is that of a Swiss brand, for example.
Yeah. I think this is a good point about the homage brands. If everybody should watch Ben at Ben's Watch Club, he just compared a real Explorer against homage ones. Very interesting, because you think a lot of these homage ones they're trying to get as close as they can, but when he actually delves into them, some surprising results where some were similar to the Rolex in certain aspects, but most of them were quite far off. Loom actually was an interesting one. Ben, big fan of the channel. I did actually meet Ben when I went to the UK, but we didn't get a picture, funnily enough. So I can't prove that we're two different people.
Can't prove it.
No, can't prove it. Can't prove it if it didn't happen.
Like UFOs, can't prove it. No pictures.
Yeah. So,
but just as an example, I mean, you talk about an Atelier Wen, which is $3,000. I mean, they are getting popular, but again, you say, would you rather buy a Rolex or another named brand for $3,000, an Omega or a Tudor for $3,000 versus a different design of an Atelier Wen? I mean, it's that cachet of brand status and that people go for a lot of the time. It's,
Yeah,
Yep, I think Sam has coined a new term.
yeah. If maybe this is the first merch idea. Be like my fromage watch. Although everybody might think and the really sophisticated people will be like, "Oh, they're making a jest on Mosa," but then everybody else knows that I mean they're cheesy homage watches. Cool.
fromage
Okay,
watch.
fromage. So let's see. I don't think we got many questions coming through yet. So let's.
Studio Underdog was another brand that was
Yeah.
mentioned.
Oh,
and,
yeah. Good point. Yeah.
He said that other brands can copy coloured dials, and coloured dials are a fad. That he said was one thing, and they can go out of fashion quickly. Which is, I mean, other brands do latch onto the coloured dial fad. Omega have done it. Plenty of brands do it. Nomoth do it. Rolex have done it. Plenty of other brands have.
Yeah, he was kind of saying, would they run out of steam? Because I forgot what he compared them to another brand, didn't he? That said, I forget which brand he compared them to. Oh, the Moon Swatch.
Yes, that was it.
Yeah, he compared it to the Moon Swatch, saying how excited people were for the first couple of iterations of the Moon Swatch. But the more and more, because the Moon Swatch is quirky, but the more and more that it came out, less people were kind of interested in it. And he was proposing the thought that, but then he did have a lot to say positive about Studio Underdog, and we're fans on the channel. But I thought he made an interesting point where he said that actually Mosa came out better. It was more of an advantage to Mosa doing that collab than it was to Studio Underdog. I don't know what the rest of the panel thinks about that.
I think that's probably true.
Yeah, I agree.
Mosa have lost their edginess. They were famous 5-6 years ago for doing the Icons watch, doing the Cheese watch. Then they got, then they lost their sense of humor, possibly because a whole bunch of watch companies have more lawyers than they do. The collaboration with Studio Underdog gave them that chance to be a little bit, to emphasize their independence, to emphasize that they can still be edgy. They just had to buy into Studio Underdog to get that back, because they've become very serious and boring. They make beautiful watches. I saw them at Watch Time. They make wonderful watches, but they've lost that bad boys of the Swiss watchmaking industry image.
Yeah, it's they're quite the investment, aren't they? Certainly, when I went to the UK, they very expensive. The Stratoliner,
Streamliner. But I do want one.
Yeah.
They are amazing. But I think actually, what makes the Streamliner so good is the way that the case and bracelet integrate together.
Yeah. It's amazing.
We've got some great questions.
I do think the Studio Underdog are working in the right way, where they have limited buy windows. They do staggered productions. I mean, they've got a buy window closing in a day or so, and for the third generation of the watermelon and the Goofy Panda and the Mint Drug chip and the Desert Sky chronograph. And I mean, it's good to see that Richard is managing that really well, and I think they still gain traction, and they're a very popular watch.
Yeah.
And,
cool. Yeah, we've got a lot of so we've got some questions coming through. So points hit says, do we like the PR 100, the Tissot? Is it a good alternative to a Datejust? Yeah. I mean, Tissot's always really good, aren't they?
Yeah,
really good quality. I quite like this. Quite a good looking watch. The Jack, if you wanted to go up a notch on that, the Jack Mason, the Canton as well. They've just done one with the Le Jeu Perret movement for like $1,400, which for a Swiss made watch, from a Dallas-based company. If you're in the US, yeah, big fan of that. Jared Stevenson says, I spoke to the owner of Fears yesterday. Yeah, Nicholas. He
Nicholas.
usually he's not been on for a while, has he? He normally comes on. He says, and they had all watches on discount on account of being discontinued. What is the future of the brand as far as design, do we think? That's interesting because that's something he's always pushed against, hasn't it? Doing a discount. Actually, he has a retailer in the US, so I wonder whether it was them that are perhaps moving.
So a Black Friday sale or something,
Yeah.
you think? Or...
Huh, that's interesting. Yeah, he didn't mention that when I talked to him extensively at the Red Bar in Philly. He didn't mention anything about any of the watches being on sale or anything like that.
What is the future of the brand as far as designs? Well, the bread and butter is that Brunswick, which is a fantastically designed watch. I wish they would put the date on it, but that's another one. The Redcliffe I reviewed. And I did like it. The Redcliffe I reviewed, I did like it. I did end up moving it on after the review, but I think it's just more of those classic. Actually, I'm talking too much here. Mark, what do you think the future of Fears is?
I hope they continue. Nicholas seems to be running this very well. I think they're going to struggle to grow significantly. And that's going to be their next challenge. Is they've got their niche with I don't know 1,000, 2,000 watches a year, and I apologize to Nicholas for guessing. How do they keep the finances together to grow? How do they grow the team? I mean, Nicholas is grooming is the wrong word. Developing the team that he's got very well, and he's just got to try and plot that path to growth.
Yeah,
that's his next big challenge. How does he move from whatever they make now to 10 times that? And that's always a challenge.
Yeah,
but,
how do you?
He might be a little bit vulnerable if the vintage design aesthetic, a lot of his watches have, justifiably, because he goes from the Fears back catalogue. If that changes to the world likes more modern designs, that could be a challenge. But then the Redcliffe is a good start to that.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, that's a good point actually. So it says sorry, I missed that. He said the Brunswick was at 2,300, which
I find that
very cheap.
I'm looking at the Fears, catalog right now.
That's probably $1,000.
That's way down.
That's a significant discount if that
is a significant.
Correct. We'll verify with Nicholas, but he said the discounts were enormous. Yeah, Jared, totally believe you on that one, but that does seem quite a discount. They were very famous for never doing discounts, or at least never offering me one. Robert Coleman says, can I ask what you guys think is the best diver for around the 500 price point? Well, the good thing with $500 price point is there's loads in there, isn't there? There's loads. I've been wearing this Seiko that I think is under $500. It's hang on, I'll do it solo. This is a solar quartz Seiko diver, absolutely just awesomely made. It all sort of lines up. This is the I don't know the code. I'll leave a code. I got it from Long Island Watches, but yeah, this is awesome. This one, and they're releasing a new version of this that's 400 again, solar quartz, but the hands look a bit more like a little bit more like a tag. So it's a bit of a tag homage, I'll say. But yeah, go on, Todd. This is your specialist subjects, isn't it? Divers around the 500.
Well, I mean, yeah, from a Seiko perspective, I was going to say, for something you don't have to mess with, your solar diver is perfect. You just put it on, you wear it, you change the battery once every 4. Well, no, I'm sorry, not the solar one. You never have to change it in theory. The other options would be like a king turtle, like what Robert's talking about. That's a good one if you want more of the manual, or rather an automatic movement. Some of the ones I really like, if you can wear it, you actually have to have a pretty big wrist, is the Glycine Combat Sub.
So I've got one of them.
You got one of those. I had one too at one point. I really liked the look and stuff, but the way the lug to lug is too much for me, and I couldn't wear it, so I moved it on. Hamilton actually makes a dive watch that isn't very well understood or known. It's kind of hiding back there because it's not part of its core identity. So there's some of those are back there too. Trying to think, Citizen, of course, the pro divers.
The Navy.
Yeah.
This, if you, Robert, if you're looking, I always like this website. I bought a couple of watches off them. Sakura watches. They're not affiliated, buy at your own risk or whatever. Whatever I should be saying as a disclaimer, but they always have really good deals on Seikos. And I think the one that I was just talking about, which I'm keeping an eye on myself, this one, I think this one is going to be about, $369 from them plus the postage, but I quite like the look of this one. It's got the hands that I like from the Tag. I think that's
I think Jared Stephenson mentioned Erebus, Jody's brand. His Origin diver, either 41 or 38 mil. Very nice watch, about $339 US. You'd have to check if you're in the UK what that was in pounds. But that's a nicely made watch.
Yeah, there's loads. I mean, 500 to 1,000-ish is really good price point for a lot of divers. I mean, typically, of course, the Phoebus, which is I've got another Phoebus coming in for review. They make fantastic watches. This Phoebus I'm reviewing, I don't know if it's embargoed or not. If it's not embargoed, but they're actually they're starting to do Miota movements in them. So check out Phoebus as well for original designs, and Erebus as well. Okay, let's see what else we've got coming up here in terms of the chat. Have we got any?
I guess the other place to look is Joma Shop.
Yes.
Shop, and also a place called Ashford. I got my Glycine Combat Sub there. I got a bronze one for $350.
Ashford.
What's the name? Ashford.
Ashford, yeah.
ASHFORD.
Yeah, do you know what, Todd? Actually, you might be able to get your
next Pogue from there.
No, your Hamilton. You were talking about your Hamilton Navy, weren't you? Were you talking about the Hamilton Navy? You might be able to get that from there. These have crept up, I mean, that one's 588, so that one's not too bad. 579, but you used to be able to get them below 500. Maybe they're
used to.
Quite the demand, but yeah, this is a good one. Also, the Orient Mako as well at like $200 or.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
I have
actually,
I have an Orient sitting here. Actually, that's
show it off. Show it off
for sale at some point. But
wait, on full.
Yay. Yeah, this is a lovely watch. It's really a great deal, and that's true. I'll forget about Oriet sometimes. They're kind of priced where Seiko used to be. Yeah, in-house, all in-house,
Boracic Time, Certina. Yeah, not as easy to get in the US, but you can get hold of them. I think Teddy sells them, doesn't he?
Yeah, he might. They have a zillion colors too, a zillion different between the dials and the bezels and everything else. There's probably 50 different color combinations for those.
Yeah, and you know what, Jared, you're mentioning a lot of stuff about fears and the pricing. I'd be interested to know a little bit more about that. I might ask Nicholas because that does seem unusual. But what do you guys think about the new Timex Mason? Oh, the ring watch. It was somebody you posted this, did you, Thomas? The ring watch, was it?
That was a Casio one. That was a Casio ring watch.
Oh, Timex
I haven't
ring
seen the
watch.
Timex one. No.
Yeah, it's on Reddit, I think. I think it might be this one. It says the Timex ring watch is a real thing.
The Casio one was the same. I saw an exactly the same one, Joker. There's a Casio ring watch as well, which has been released.
Yeah, there's actually
had an alarm on it. Had a light, a digital watch.
Yeah, this
Um,
and that's got more. That band is actually more ring-like, isn't it? It looks like they made more of an effort to make it more like a ring instead of a tiny. Although I wonder how you adjust it for whether you get different sizes or something of because that looks fixed, doesn't it? It looks like you wouldn't be able to adjust it
Yeah.
to. Oh, there you go. The plastic bumpers to adjust the size. Yeah, so they put spacers in there. That's interesting.
so would that be for you, Sam? Would you wear a ring watch?
No. I was looking at Aura watches, Aura rings the other day. I don't like wearing rings. I don't wear a wedding ring either. I just don't. I don't know. I just don't like it. But yeah.
You just need to
Homage
go
watches
to
and rings. San Martin and
need-
rings. I'll go to
you
my
just
grave.
need to go to get rid of your tungsten wedding watch and buy a tantalum rose gold one instead.
Yeah, that is the problem. My wedding ring is made of tungsten. It's like ungodly heavy. Awesome. Yeah, the ring watch. Yeah, very interesting.
But
yeah,
I suspect if your eyesight is as bad as mine, if you thought the bell Kanto was hard to read, that ring watch is going to be equally bad.
Yeah, I'd probably poke
yeah,
my
what
eye
time
out
is
trying to read
it?
it.
Yeah, bonk, ow.
Somebody's asking about the. Oh yeah, somebody's asking about another Tissot.
James
Yeah, that
Flom.
comment on Bel Canto and trying to read the time is absolutely correct. I can't read the time on it hardly at all. But purpose is not for time as far as I'm concerned.
it's not. Yeah, it's. They should have made that the time. But having said that, though, the new Bel Canto, they have made it the hands a different color and they put Romans on it, haven't they?
That's better.
So I think they have made it slightly more legible, but that was certainly something I noticed in the review because the previous Bel Canto had it was
like
it's silver on silver, isn't it? Yeah, silver.
I must admit,
there you go.
The new Bel Cantos, the classics they're calling them. I think the guilloche takes away from the gong for certain. It takes away those elements that made it stand out.
Oh, really?
Personally. I mean, it's like in silver. Where the heck did it go?
Do we think that is actual guilloche or is it stamped?
No, it's laser ablative. It's laser ablative etching. So they have the blank. They etch it with a numerically controlled laser. Then they coat it.
Is that how they do the 12?
The 12 is more CNC.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's certainly not the laser ablative technology. It's either press. I think that's actually pressed, because if you look very closely, you can see it's not quite as defined as you might think.
Yeah, that's what Omega does with their world timer. It's laser.
Yeah, that's laser ablative too.
Which is stunning. That's one of the most stunning dials I've seen.
That one to me looks better in the titanium, the dark grey color.
Yeah,
it looks good.
It was this moon phase, wasn't it? There you go. So they put it nominated actually there, haven't they now? Instead of that, this was the one they submitted.
That's lovely. I really like that.
Oh, so I can talk about the other one. It's a new one. It's a 37. I wasn't sure if it was under embargo, but I'm going to be reviewing the 37 on the channel as well.
It's going to get lost on your hairy arm, Sam.
Well, that consort bracelet isn't like this. That's like a wax strip on the arm. But
we've just gained Pete McConville in the comments.
Oh, hey
Pete.
We summoned him. We said his name 3 times at the start, and Pete. Welcome, Pete. Yeah. So let me. Let's just see if we.
It's Beetlejuice.
Yeah, Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice. Yeah, we have Beetlejuice.
Just seeing if there's any more. And did I miss any? Let's just have a look. Blah, 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 blah. Actually, then, since we're in the habit of interrogating the comments section, so Jared said he tried on a Moon Phase 37. Does it feel high for its size? Does it feel thick for its size?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be interested. Well, I'm actually going to see one on Wednesday. I'm traveling for the first part of this week, but I've got one coming from DHL on A loaner, of course, a loaner coming in. Just better say that. Awesome. Okay, let's just see. Okay, let's just see if we've got anything else. The other, let me just see if there's anything else I wanted to talk about. What did people think of did anybody see the time and tide tag? A time and tide tag.
Is that the solar graph? Yeah.
Yeah.
Tag higher. Yeah.
So I think it's interesting. I like this solar graph, although it's just a tad too small. Even though it's 40 millimeters, it actually wears, for my liking, wears a little bit small. But I thought it was interesting that they'd taken it and then they've added, like, I think rose gold and stuff in there as well on the hand.
Didn't they move the date as well? I thought the date on the solar graph was at 6.
Maybe.
Could be wrong.
Let's have a look. But yeah, it's like they're doing it as like a pre-order showing of interest thing, but they're selling it for US 3,050, which I don't think is a bad price actually for that. I mean, in comparison to the other tags, I mean, obviously for a solar watch, it's probably a Seiko movement in it, I'm guessing. Let's have a look. Solar graph.
Yeah, I don't think Citizen sells their eco drives outside of their own watches. I don't believe.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, so no,
it is at 3.
Yeah, it is at 3. Yeah,
because that would be an expensive engineering change.
Okay, so it's not actually more. Oh well, I suppose it is technically a little bit more expensive than the standard one because it's titanium. This one is 3,050, but this one has the Oh, I love the way Tag does that and adjusts to your local time.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I always forget that. But yeah, so theirs is 3,050, but it's on a NATO instead of the normal tag is on a titanium.
And that is a very nice watch. I've looked at it a few times.
What do you think of the size? The size puts me off it. I actually was seriously considering it, but the size just feels a little bit too small on my wrist.
It's what, a 40, I think?
Yeah, but it just wears small, I think, for me.
I didn't think that when I tried it on. I mean, why, I have my Citizen Chronomaster, so why would I buy a Tag Solargraph?
Yes. Actually, Robert says you could nearly get the Pelagos FXD for that.
But I'd much rather have a Tag Solargraph or the Chronomaster.
Yeah, I mean, I really like. I'm really looking forward to seeing. I really want to see the new Tag GMT, the new FXD GMT in person, because there's. I like a lot of it, but I don't know. I'm a mixed minds about it because I don't. It depends how kind of patina the loom is, I guess. Also, the other thing I don't like about it is I don't like the strap. I think it's like cosplaying like you're in the French Air Force, the strap. I wish they would include like a different one with it.
It's got the original blue Pelagos FXT was my favorite. The original blue Marine National one.
Yeah, I do like this. I'll have to see one in person, but I do like. Obviously, it's got the date on it, which I love, and it's got the GMT function as well. But it's not cheap. It's like $4,600. That. So excellent. Okay.
And somebody said that posted that Citizen does sell some of their solar movements to other brands. Okay.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Got a question from Neil.
Okay.
What do we think of the new microbrand Prevail watches?
Prevail.
Never heard of them.
The Onward Field has a really unusual case design. Interested in their thoughts on it?
It really does have it. Actually, it really does have an interesting case design, doesn't it? Wow. That is interesting.
No. Not for me.
That's it. That's the verdict. No.
That's a no for 2.
That's a bit like I saw Bobby Leg's wrist roll a short on a Unimatic, which looks a bit like that. A bit like that face shape. Yeah, and I quite like it, to be honest with you. It's
Yeah, it
different.
looks. You like this military, doesn't it? It looks.
Yeah.
So it says case dimensions 42 millimeters from left to right. So I wonder whether the dial might seem small on it.
That's one thing that's going to be
It's
true,
small.
because
one thing I don't like.
It's a small dial with a lot of case, and then it's got those fixed lugs, which means you can only use a NATO. And I feel about NATOs about as strongly as I do about Roman numerals. So it's just not going to happen for me.
What's the price on this, Neil? Do you know?
They're 200. They're actually really, really good. They're $275.
not
They're
bad.
under quartz.
Not bad.
That's very good. That's very good.
Yeah,
200 meters of water resistance. Okay.
I'd buy one of those.
Sapphire
Ooh,
crystal,
James
yeah.
Bond.
Rhonda.
That's harsh but fair.
This looks like an ugly.
Okay.
Yeah,
It
no,
does.
Neil, thanks for bringing that to us. This is a brand new one. I'd never heard of that before.
Yeah.
I would. It's one of those you'd have to see it in person, wouldn't you? Because if it looks like a really, if the dial looks minute in comparison to the case shape, but yeah, no, interesting.
Yeah. I really like that, Neil. Big thumbs up from me.
Teddy Baldassar's done an article on it. Let's have a look. Or has he? Oh, he's included it in a top 10. Surprise, surprise. I'm guessing, is it there? Oh, there you go.
There it is.
Prevail characterizes its new timepiece as military field watch redefined.
Right.
Interesting. Oh, there you go. Probably watch Chris or Jodie's probably will review these if there's ones doing the rounds. So I'd keep an eye on their channel. Watch Chris, and then just Jodie will probably get his hands on one as well.
I like Robert Coleman's comment. Victorinox fromage.
Victorinox fromage. Joshua Briggs says Royale is the Casio's association with Bond films. But it's when did he wear
weird.
a Casio? He always
Casino Royale, I think he's referring to.
Yeah, but like the knockoff version that wasn't a Bond film or the one with Daniel Craig. I can't because I just watched the one with Daniel Craig. There wasn't a Casio in it.
The original
was like a knockoff one, wasn't there?
He's won Seiko, he's won Pulsar. I don't think he's won Casio in the films.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I watched an action film the other day with my favorite British action star, Chris Adkins, and he had a Pulsar on. I think there. Is it Chris Adkins? I'm going mad now. It's not. I feel like I've said that wrong. It's not Chris Adkins. I'll think of it. The Casino Royale Bond film. I'm going to look into that. I've already made the review now where I said I didn't know where the Royale came from, so I'll have a look. Awesome. Okay, well, we're coming up very close to time. Thanks everyone for the. Any last thoughts from the panel? Or anything we didn't answer? No. Awesome. Cool. All right. Yeah. So thanks everyone for watching. Really appreciate it. Thanks for all the questions, and we'll see you next time on Casual Watch Talk Sunday Social. Thanks everyone. Bye.
Take care, everyone.